All right, you guys, welcome back to another episode of the No Fun Zone podcast. You're joining me for the second part of my conversation with my big sister, Bridget. Probably should have said this on the first one. We are going to be talking about some sensitive topics. If you listen to the first one, you probably already know. But namely, we're going to be talking, a good bit about suicide and the ramifications thereafter. So if that's something that you don't want to listen to, feel free to skip forward. But I think it's a beneficial thing for us to talk about. So, yeah, I guess warning aside, sit back, enjoy the show, and here we go.
I think I see your keyboard.
Yep.
There we go.
There we go. All right.
Hey. We back.
Again, so this, once again, it comes back to just perfectionism. And I've been doing so many things to try and make sure that it's perfect. And there's always like a new hitch in the road.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fun because it makes it, maybe fun's not the right word, but it's not boring.
Variety is the spice of life.
Oh, my life is so spicy with this podcast. Way too spicy.
Spicy podcast.
Oh, speaking of spicy, I started making hot sauces.
Yeah?
Yeah. Super easy.
I brew my own kombucha now.
Ooh, nice.
It's great. You can control the sweetness when you brew your own, so it doesn't taste like the vinegary stuff that you get in the store.
Yeah. And do you just keep a like a starter that you just keep using?
So yeah, it's like they call it a SCOBY.
Yeah,
and
SCOBY.
It's like the little bacteria, and basically
symbiotic community of bacteria and yeast.
Yeah.
Who watches food shows
nice.
On the internet? This guy does.
Yeah. Yeah, you just make sweet tea, and then you add the SCOBY and like a cup of like the previous kombucha liquid. And then you just literally let it sit for 8 to 10 days. And it just eats the sugar. And then you can do a second round of bottling for flavors. So I have strawberry basil going right now. And then then you just have 6 bottles of kombucha. It is so cheap. I cannot believe I spent so much money on kombucha before.
Right. Yeah. And it's easy to do. And like, I've started thinking about getting into more like fermenting stuff. Because it's basically you just mix stuff together and let it sit for a week or two.
It's so easy. It's so easy.
I mean, making a hot sauce is literally, you get some vinegar. I mean, this is a painting with a very broad brush, but you get vinegar, onion, garlic, hot peppers, and then blend it. Heat it up to 185 and then just put it in jars. It's the easiest thing in the world.
Nice.
So I'm thinking I'm gonna just make a company that'll technically be our first sponsor, Ryan's Hot Sauce or something. I don't know.
That's funny.
And then just not actually sell it. Just have a picture like, "Hey, buy this hot sauce," but you can't. So what were we just talking about?
Yeah, but we were just kind of talking about like how we feel like we have to adjust how we talk about suicide in order for other people to feel comfortable.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, true. That's also kind of a bummer that kind of has to fall on us.
It does.
We're the ones that are dealing.
It totally falls on the survivors.
Yeah, because we're the ones dealing with the aftermath. But then we also have to be educating people to let them know, like, it's okay to talk about this.
And we have to educate ourselves. Like, I remember to an event hosted by the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And I went and I sat down at this table, and this woman, clearly still grieving, but just like was literally telling everyone, like, my son jumped off the Coronado Bridge. He was a drug addict, like just like telling it all. And like, and this was before the event even started. And so then they started the event and they were like, just like, this is an event for survivors of suicide loss. We are all at different stages of grieving. So please refrain from sharing the method by which your loved one passed away, because you don't know where another person is in their journey, and you don't know if they're ready to hear that or not.
When was this?
So like,
When was this?
This event?
Yeah.
It would have been November 2019, because it was right pre-COVID.
Oh, okay.
Then and I'd gone to a couple other events before that, but the one particular event is where this woman was, and it was, and I had this realization of like, oh, there are so many people who have lost someone to suicide that have no idea like how to go about talking about it with other people, and not even understanding themselves the full complexity behind it. There are a lot of people who don't access the resources out there to learn themselves and therefore help educate others. But it's also one of those things of like, how do you do that in the throes of grief? You know what I mean? It's a weird place to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's also, I mean, in any given subset of a significant size, no matter what, you're going to have that person that just shares too much and just throws everything against the wall and just blurts it out.
Well, and I think that that's how some people process it. Like, so that is helpful for some people. Like I remember actually kind of getting frustrated with Mom at one point right after Dad passed away, because she was really talking through things to the point where she would sometimes repeat herself. And I would be like, I know, Mom, we talked about this 2 days ago. I don't want to talk about it again. But that was her process, and it wasn't the same as my process.
Yeah.
So it's really a hard thing to navigate. It really is.
Oh, most definitely. And it's different for everyone. So it's not like anybody could even come out with like a set of rules and guidelines. Because again, everyone deals with
even
trauma.
Like the 5 stages of grief or whatever don't necessarily fully cover it, No,
I mean, I think there's bits and pieces of every stage, but when it comes, it's not necessarily just like, boom, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the level to which you feel each phase also differs. Yeah.
Yeah. And some people don't even hit certain phases.
Right.
Like some people sit in a certain stage of grief for a very long time.
Yeah. I had anger for a good while. Anger and depression were sort of mixed together. Don't think I ever went through like the bargaining phase. Because I was like, well,
yeah, because there really wasn't anything to bargain.
Exactly. It's like, what do I do? It's done. It's over. I'm just gonna punch a couple holes in the drywall.
Yeah.
And call it a day. Which I definitely I put a few sizable holes in my bedroom wall that summer.
I heard.
Yeah. I think that was the first time I actually just like punched through a wall. Remarkably easy. Like I didn't think
as long as you don't hit a stud, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. When you hit the stud, that's when it doesn't move so much. But yeah, I just went to just go like punch the wall. I didn't even like give it my full force, and it just kind of went through. I was just like, oh, okay. And it was perfectly, it was like a Looney Tunes cartoon. It was perfectly shaped like a fist. Like it had all the knuckles. It's pretty interesting. But then I also kind of like, I definitely dealt with that anger for a while. Like I was just kind of pissed off and just like, what the fuck, man? Why would you fucking do this?
And I think you probably felt more anger because, as we mentioned earlier, you felt like you had more of a connection.
Yeah, maybe.
I also was I am the queen of compartmentalization. And so for me, I was just being in Hawaii, it was very easy for me to remove myself from the situation because I literally physically removed myself and I went to an island.
Yeah. No, definitely.
And I went back to work, and work served as a great distraction.
Yeah. Well, and I also, work definitely helped for sure, because I would just go and like bust my ass at purgatory. But when I came home, I had Molly to deal with, and Molly herself was an emotional wreck. And that wasn't a very good environment for, because like, my dad just died. Your dad's still alive. I need you to be there to help me. And I don't need you to be at the funeral crying harder than anyone in my family is. And almost sort of like, I don't want to call it attention seeking, but she got the majority of the attention in that moment. And I don't know, it felt like.
Yeah, I remember there was a night where she was like really bitching about a professor who did not let her like have an extension on an assignment. And I kind of looked at her and I was like, well, if I was a professor and I heard that your boyfriend's dad died, like, I also maybe wouldn't grant you an extension, because like, it's not like your fiance, it's not like your husband, it's like your college boyfriend's dad. Like, I get where that professor was coming from, but she was real pissed, and I kind of wanted to look at her and be like, this is not your dad. Like,
and there's more pressing. There's more pressing matters at hand than one assignment at Fort Lewis, which is like, it's not Harvard. You're literally going to what's called Fort Stoner. That's where people go to technically go to college, but really to just go ski. Like, she definitely, I don't know how to put it, I guess, but it was not a healthy place for me to be able to get over it. And then,
I do think that when you guys broke up is kind of when you turned a corner. Not at first, like, obviously you were dealing with the breakup on top of it, but like, ultimately that released you some aspect that, you know, opened up space for more healing on your end.
Yeah, totally. Well, also, it was also a mental switch where I was just like, I'm so sick of this. I'm so done feeling this way. I'm over this so bad right now. And I started doing yoga, and I started skateboarding again. I started playing guitar and banjo more, and started, throwing axes in the backyard with my roommates. And but that's what it is with depression. I mean, not chronic depression, but with like grief depression.
Yeah.
At a certain point, you just need to go like, you know what? I'm done feeling like this. It's no longer serving me. I can't do this anymore. And I need to, and this is something I tell Charlie, because Charlie deals with depression. It's like, it's not something that ever goes away. It's a daily thing where you're like, nope, I'm going to try really hard to be happy today. Some days it works, some days it doesn't. And you kind of ebb and flow. I mean, I feel like I definitely got a touch of the bipolar gene. Not nearly as severe as you and Dad had it, but I think, I mean, genetically it's in there probably, because Dad had it so severe.
We don't, he was never fully tested. Like, we think in retrospect that it was bipolar 2. But I also, I mean, my symptoms have only been ever only been kind of like depressive symptoms, but that also is kind of like how bipolar 2 operates, is like the manias and the highs don't interfere with your life as much as the lows do.
Sure. And it's also,
but I also think that most of my depressive episodes have been situational in nature, because when I get myself out of a situation like high school, or like a job that is making me miserable, or when leaving. I remove myself from those situations, I feel myself getting lighter.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And that's a big reason why I left my last job. It was just like, and I told my boss, I was like, hey man, I've been kind of miserable here. I know it doesn't seem like that. And that's also kind of what could be a potentially kind of worrying thing about how I go about, is because I don't let people in to see like how I'm really feeling. I just kind of, when I'm at work, I try my best to put on a show and make sure everybody's happy. And I want to make sure everyone has a good time. And then it's only like a few people that you actually let know, like, no, actually, I feel like shit. But I'm not going to let my sadness affect everyone else's day. So
Yeah.
smile, put on the happy face, make a bunch of jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when I told him, I was like, yeah, no, I've just kind of been really, really miserable here. And I don't think for my mental health, that's good for me. And I'd rather put my time and energy into doing something like this. Same thing, again, back to like with school. I want to be able to put my energy in the stuff that I'm passionate about and that I'm excited for. Because like, even though this can be frustrating, this doesn't seem like work. I mean, certain aspects are definitely more grueling and more time consuming than others, but it's still something that like I'm stoked about doing, so I don't mind having to do it.
Yeah. But it's that idea of when you're doing something you enjoy, you lose the kind of that concept of time because you're in that flow, like you're in that focused zone.
Yeah, totally. And then, but the reverse happens when you're in a place that's very depressive.
Oh yeah,
time just
crawls.
drags.
Yeah.
You know, at least with that job, I liked the actual work I did. It's more of just how things were run, because like I was able to be busy, so that they flew by for the most part.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you're, I don't know, but I definitely see how like I feel like a lot of people who have depression issues, I think a lot of the time it is situational based, where even though you don't really realize it, but like again, little things like Charlie, he spends a lot of time alone sitting in his basement, either on the computer or just sitting on the couch and just watching a giant screen and watching Netflix.
Yeah.
And it's like,
well, and I think that that's something that differentiated me from Dad is like, and this is kind of where the anxiety that I have, where it almost plays into my advantage, where I'm always thinking about the future, where it's just like, when I think about the future, it means that I see a future for myself. So it's like, I may not see the light at the end of the tunnel, but I am desperately looking for the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, I know that it's there somewhere. I just don't know how far down the tunnel we are. And I think that was different than Dad's situation, where I don't think he felt like there was a light at the end of the tunnel.
Or, and this is something that I've sort of thought about, is like, maybe just checking out and being done was kind of the light at the end of the tunnel for him.
Yeah, that is something that my friend Michael brought up at one point, where, you know, he was like, because, you know, suicide has the stigma of being like the cowardly way out or whatever. And it's like, he just posed the question, like, is it, or is it kind of a sense of, a certain sense of bravery to kind of like take things into your own hands and make your own decision?
Yeah.
You know, not that I'm advocating for it in any way, because like, I do think that it's generally the wrong decision, because I don't think you have all of the data points to make an informed decision, because I think depression does cloud your judgment a little bit.
Totally.
But, you know, I think that's a valid point, that thinking that of it, that was the light at the end of the tunnel for him.
Well, and I think one of the things, I mean, it's almost like, you know, when there's a married couple with kids and they just stick through the horrible marriage until the kids are adults.
For the kids.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think this might be me reading too much into it, but the last time I saw Dad was when he came to visit us in Durango for Christmas. And I think it was like the day after Christmas or something. I had to be at work super early. And I was up at 5:30 and dressing. I mean, you remember how hard of a sleeper I was when I was a kid. Like, they could not get me out of bed for school. Early mornings, still not my thing. But I feel like when he saw, I mean, you were in Hawaii, you were basically living your dream.
Yeah.
When he saw that I was also a capable adult and able to get myself up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go shovel snow at a ski resort and then get to go ski powder all day, I think he was like, all right, I guess my job here is done.
Yeah.
It just, maybe that was like a subtle thing in the back of his head. And then obviously other events led to the actual decision. But I always like pondered that of like, maybe he was just like, okay, I did my job. Because Dad was a very task-oriented person.
Yeah, that's true.
And so my job is now, I did it. My kids are grown.
I have raised functional adults.
Yep, check. Cool. And so, I don't know, that might be a factor maybe.
Yeah.
But
well, and I do think that, like, you know, his life was going to be very different.
Yeah.
And that, you know, yeah, I forgot. It slipped my mind what I was going to say, but
maybe just wasn't ready for a change, like a drastic change of.
Yeah. I remember. So I was just thinking about how, you know, given who he was, you know, we talked about it gets better, but it was just like, he was never going to express the emotions and the hurt that he was feeling. He was never going to do the work necessary, like, because he went 63 years without doing the work. So it's kind of a safe bet of like, okay, well, if nothing is going to change, then nothing is going to get better. Like, if you're not going to take the actionable steps needed to make things better. So I do kind of see that aspect of it too, where it might not have gotten better because he was not willing to make it better.
Yeah, maybe, but I mean, maybe if he hadn't have died of suicide, maybe that would have been his rock bottom.
Yeah.
You know, to actually go like, okay, maybe I really do need to start looking at this situation a little bit more. I mean, who knows? This is all speculative, and hindsight is
right. And most, you know, most survivors of suicide attempts, I don't want to quote I don't know the actual statistics, so I don't want to quote it, but a lot of them are like, I'm very glad that the decision was not, that it didn't go how I wanted it to go.
Yeah.
You know,
like, yeah, I mean, anecdotally, I've heard of people who've like survived jumping off of bridges saying that as soon as their feet left the ground, they were like, nope, regretted it. They're just like, oh, this is a bad idea.
Because I really do think that survival instinct is innate in all of us. Just biologically.
Yeah.
Like that's literally the whole point of this organism, is to keep it going.
Yep. But it's also the only thing that's actually guaranteed in your life.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird existential crisis of like, every single instinct of your being is fighting for survival. Yet humans have the capability of understanding that that's the one thing that you will never be able to avoid.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
very meta.
Very, very meta. I'm artsy. I don't know if you know this about me. Very artsy. Suicide's just a very heavy subject. It is. And it's got to be a terrifying. I mean, so the one thing that sort of led me more into acceptance of his decision was I finally sort of had the thought of like, if he was truly that miserable, then at least he's not feeling that miserable anymore.
That is exactly what got me through it as well. Yeah. That is the one thing that I pulled comfort from, was just knowing how, like, the depths of his despair and self-loathing, and how like at least now he is at peace. He is not feeling that. Whether no matter what you believe happens after death, you know that he is not still feeling what he was feeling.
Unless you're a Christian literalist. And then he's still burning in hell.
Yeah.
According to hardcore Catholics.
Then it's worse than what he was feeling, but you know.
Yeah, that's why I don't believe in any of that.
Oh, no.
Any God that would
fear tactics, I think we can establish, do not work well.
No. Well, suicide, it's not even in the Bible. It's never written that that's a sin or anywhere in the Bible. It's not mentioned anywhere in the Bible. It was created in like maybe the 3rd or 4th century or something, because so many Christians, early Christians, were just going like, oh, as long as I believe in Jesus, and then as soon as I die, I just go to heaven. Like, why am I sticking around here for? Like, if you're a peasant living in, 4th century, in the Middle East or just anywhere really, it's like you're living a pretty miserable existence. So if somebody tells you like, hey, as long as you believe this, when you die, you go to paradise, you'd be like,
cool, I'm gonna head out to paradise.
Yeah, when's the next train leaving? Because I'm gonna go jump in front of it.
And then the feudal lords were like, shit, there's no one here to do our labor.
Yeah, exactly. And so then the church made it an official sin. I might have my dates mixed up, but it was pretty early in Christianity. Because like logically that would make sense. Just like, oh, well, I can just. They're like,
the best thing I ever did was take a biblical studies course at my Jesuit private Catholic university. But like,
I'm sure that was completely on the up and up, and absolutely nothing was whitewashed whatsoever.
Well, actually, that was what was cool about my college, was they actually really did challenge us. Like there was an entire course called The Problem of God, and it just addressed of like, it literally addressed the problem of God, of like, here's the gaps in the arguments, like what are the problems. But biblical studies, they took the Bible and they were like, let's just like analyze this as if it were any other piece of literature. And that really helped to be like, no, what are the historical contexts of this? How does these select things benefit these certain groups? It was very helpful. Yeah. And my Catholic education is what led me to permanently depart from organized religion.
Yep. Couldn't have said it better myself. No, yeah, like when you learn about what is it, the Council of Nicaea, where they all just got together and decided like, these are the books. These books, we'll put these in here. These ones,
ew, a woman wrote this one. Gross.
Yeah, or I don't know. And this one, Jesus is hanging out with a lot of prostitutes. Let's not put that one in there. It's just cherry pick.
This isn't good for our brand, you guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, how are we going to keep touching all these little kids if people think we're hanging out with prostitutes all day? How is that going to work? Yeah, and like, yeah, when you put all that sort of biblical, I mean, when you just even think about the Bible, it was originally, especially like the Old Testament, it was originally an oral tradition passed down through generation to generation. It's been translated who God knows how many times.
Well, yeah, and then the Old Testament, like those were set rules in order to help keep a society thriving. Like,
exactly,
you don't eat pork and shellfish not because it's a sin, but because those are things that actually carry more diseases that could spread through the community, yada yada yada. So it was more about like self-preservation of the species as opposed to like individual salvation.
Yeah, it was more of a practical book, and that's why it blows my mind that like Hasidic or what's the other one?
Orthodox,
like God doesn't care if you have cheese with your burger. He doesn't. Yeah. He doesn't. And if he did, what a dumb rule.
Yeah.
I was listening to again, we keep going back to Bo Burnham, but I was listening to the song From the Perspective of God. And he's like singing something about like I didn't tell you not to eat pork because you love me, or I don't tell you to not eat pork because you love me. You can eat pork because why the fuck would I give a shit? It's like,
Yeah, basically.
I created the whole fucking universe. You think I'm drawing the line at the fucking deli aisle? It's like, yeah. And I've always like any god that would be that petty, like the pettiness of the Old Testament God.
Mm-hmm.
What an insecure little bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're so insecure. It's almost like reading Catcher in the Rye. And it's
Oh,
like Holden
I
Caulfield.
hated Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah,
it was just a whiny teenager.
Oh, that's exactly. I've had so many people be like, "Oh, it's such a good book. It's such a good book."
No.
It's like, no, it's this just one little mopey fuck who won't shut the fuck up about how.
Because I remember actually reading. It was like that South Park episode. I actually read Catcher in the Rye because I was like, "Ooh, this is a banned book. I wonder what's in it." And I was like, "Oh my god, he's just bitching about everything." I actually don't think I finished it because I was like, I can't with this kid. This kid needs to shut up.
Yeah. And the only reason why it's banned is because some schizophrenic walked up and shot John Lennon and then sat down and read that book. It's not because it's so controversial.
Yeah.
It's just
not because lunatic. It says the word fuck like 3 times or something like that.
Yeah. So that's the other thing with like language and kids. They're just words. Obviously, you teach kids, if you teach kids what swearing is, they're going to be less likely to do it because you demystify it. So if you just tell them like, yeah, this is the F word. Don't say it in front of other people, but if you want to say it at home, I don't give a shit. It's just words. It's intent behind the word that has any effect whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I don't know. Which is why like, it's so crazy that like the sort of PC culture that we live in, where like you can get banned for not using the right terminology. Even if you're
I think that's more along the lines of like, I think there's a difference between like cancel culture and, Jamila Jamil has a really great point about this, where it's like we shouldn't necessarily cancel everyone for not using right terminology or whatever. All we're trying to do is expand people's horizons so that it like language becomes more inclusive, because when language becomes more inclusive, then society becomes more inclusive. And so it's just like, it's not about canceling people and like demonizing them for using these phrases. It's just being like, hey, this makes this other group of people feel more safe or feel more seen.
And most people that are not an asshole would go like, oh, I didn't actually look at it that way if they actually explained. But the irony of like, we're trying to make language more inclusive, but if you don't use the language we use, we're just going to ostracize you.
Exactly.
It's like the dichotomy of like, we want everything to be super inclusive, but if you don't believe what we believe, yeah, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, no, like, the empathy needs to be reciprocal of like, I understand in using this phrase or whatever, that it's hurtful to this group of people. And this group of people has to be like, I understand that you didn't know that this was hurtful. Exactly. And thank you for learning, and thank you for trying to do better. Even if you slip up again, all we ask is that you try.
Yeah.
That you try, like you think about it the next time. That's all you have to do is just like literally just try and do the next right thing.
Yeah. Well, and like like the pronouns thing. Yeah, I was about to say you're sort of like melding
the sun
into
is
a world
setting.
of darkness. Yeah, I figured.
Yeah, the sun is setting.
Not
a very good. And backlit. There we go.
What was I just about to say? Like the whole idea of pronoun, people choosing their pronouns, that's totally cool. If you want me to use a pronoun, I do not care. I'll call you whatever you want. But also the onus is kind of on you to tell me if you want a certain pronoun to be used. Because otherwise you can't expect someone to go around to everybody and be like, hey, what's your pronoun? What do you prefer to be called? Because like, there's a lot of people that if you walked up to them and they were just like a very sort of butch woman and you asked them like, if you ask them their pronoun and they're just like straight, just she, her, some people would be like, what the fuck? I'm a woman. I'm clearly a woman. Like they might get offended that like, oh, this person thinks I maybe look like I might be transgender. I might look like I'm a man. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
So I have an email signature. I have my pronouns in an email signature. Just it's in an effort to just normalize it, so that because like the idea is the more people see it, the more familiar they get and more comfortable they get with it. I had some bitch sign her email as, because it's, my name is Bridget, and then in parentheses it says she, her. And then this bitch replied to my email, like, say her name is, we're gonna call her Carol. Her name was Carol, and then in parentheses she
Baskins?
put biological female.
Oh, Jesus.
And I was just like, that is so transphobic. Like,
yeah,
it literally did not, like, did that make you feel better? Did
That's
that
what it
make you
is.
feel better?
That to me is really what it is like, why are you going out of your way to try and poke buttons? And just like try and instigate things? Like, and that's so much of like our culture nowadays is just that instigating nature of just like, how can I get, like, if I get it if you don't agree with it, but this is the world we're living in nowadays. And if you want to function in this world, just pragmatically, just get on the wave. The wave's coming.
Yeah, just roll with the punches, man. Just
yeah, it's like the fact, and like, gay marriage, and people are still opposed to that, and just like, why on earth could you possibly give a fuck what other people are doing?
Will you be participating in a gay marriage? No? Cool.
Yeah,
then
exactly.
It doesn't matter.
And guess what? The whole the thing of like, oh, if we let the gays get married, then all of a sudden people are going to be marrying their dogs, and people are going to want to marry their dogs. Guess what? There's a lot of insane people out there, and there has been for the entire history of human beings. Before gay marriage was ever even a thought in anyone's mind, there's a couple crazy people that wanted to fuck a dog. Yeah. They're out there. The gays have nothing to do with that. There's just, there's some people that are insane, and these people, like the gay people, just want to have the same, just equal rights.
Yeah, giving them the same rights that you have. Do you have a right to marry a dog? I mean, legally, no. So, like, neither do they. So shut up.
I guarantee you, if I did a Google search of man marries dog, I guarantee you there's somebody out there who's done it.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. There was a woman who married a dolphin in, like, the 80s.
Was she the one who, like, was researching it and got in trouble for, I guess the proper word would be sexually releasing it?
Oh, maybe.
Because I remember that was a story.
That might have been
the dolphin
her.
would get distracted and not be able to sort of perform the tasks.
I do remember that story.
That's a weird thing to do.
That's also, I don't know, that's also very anthropomorphic to assume. I don't know. I was not there. I did not see the sessions. I could not tell you.
Yeah. I'm kind of happy I wasn't there. It seems like an awkward wrap up to the psychological study. So in conclusion.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, there needs to just be a balance between all the PC culture and the cancel culture, and like recognize that we're all trying to get through life. Like, for the most part, everyone wants to have a job that makes them money, be able to hang out with their family and their friends, and just enjoy their life. That's mostly what people want to do. But the constant blast of information at us all the time, and like the sort of dichotomy of, or the, not dichotomy, but like the two-sidedness and the sort of provoking feeling that you get from all news media nowadays is just like,
I think it just boils down to, like, we really need a little bit more empathy and compassion in the world. Like, that needs to be the first instinct, and not not the he said, she said.
Watch out for yourself saying that, because for the most part, everybody in history who has preached that usually ends up dead pretty quick. Martin Luther King.
As I said, we're all going to be dead in 7 years because we have no empathy and compassion for this planet. So with that, I'm bringing it full circle, motherfucker.
Like around the flat earth, which is a flat disc?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm about to jump right off that edge.
I think it's so funny that people believe in flat earth.
Did you see the Facebook status update from the Flat Earth Society that was like, we have members all around the globe?
Yep. Uh-huh.
And someone was like, read that again.
Yeah. Just, how do you not? Once again, that's the thing with humans. We'll never be able to convince everyone of certain things. We're never going to get everyone on board and on the same page ever.
Yeah, I don't remember what I was listening to, but someone brought up a really good point where they were, it was on the committee meeting that I was on where because we talk about how we can communicate about climate change and leave people understanding the fundamentals, but also hopeful about the things they can do about it. And he started the meeting off where he was like, look, there's a statistic that's like 9% of Americans believe that chocolate milk comes from brown cows.
Right.
So there's a segment of the population that we're just never gonna reach. Like, we just need to forget about that because, like, that's not our area of concern.
Yeah, the fringe.
Exactly.
The people on the outskirts that just like probably shouldn't necessarily. I think with them. Oh, this is a good idea. Remember, do they still do like oh no, I don't think they do, but they should make like touchscreen iPods again. And we just give them to the people and don't hook them up to the Wi-Fi and tell them that it's a phone.
Like in The Office where they open up a Word document for Creed and it becomes his blog.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Because Ryan's like, I don't think that should be accessible to everyone.
Right. Yeah.
Not wanting to subject the world to Creed's thoughts, I simply opened up a Word document.
Yeah. I think there's some merit to that. And there's some people that definitely fall for it.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. We got to figure out a plan. But it's still got to look like they're actually posting stuff. There's got to look like there's still replies coming in. At least to a certain
You just said Charlie knows how to build a website. Like,
it's true.
Get Charlie on it.
Oh, that'll be done in about 7 years. I'm still trying to get him to finish our goddamn website for the past, I don't know, month and a half or something. So yeah. Yeah. The other quote that I always think about when I think about just like how dumb the world is George Carlin. Think about how stupid the average person is, and then realize that half the people are dumber than that. It's like, ooh, that hits home. Because like the average person's a fucking dolt, and then half the population is stupider than that. It's a sad world we live in, I think.
I don't think the math checks out on that.
What do you mean?
Well, because if you're taking the average, you're taking a collective whole. So it wouldn't be that half of all people are stupider. It would be that the majority of people are as stupid as the average American. And then there are also people who are stupider.
Okay, so 49%
I get the idea of the joke.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, mathematically.
No, for sure. But also, it's just a joke. You don't need to deconstruct it.
I'm sorry.
No, but you are actually technically right. But there's a solid. All right, we'll give them 45%.
Okay, that's fair.
We'll give 5% of the people that are still in the normal range.
Sure.
But yeah. And then whose idea was to give all those people access to be able to say whatever they want online? Zuckerberg, dude, that guy's a fucking robot.
He is. He's even. Did you see his misquote the other day?
Mm-hmm.
Where he was referring to himself in the past tense because but the way that he said it, he was like, back when I was a human.
Oh yeah. I do.
I was human. Like it was, and he was like, I am human, but in the past tense, but back then I was also human. It was just like,
I was human. I used to remember the times where I would consume nutrients through my face hole.
I would smoke the meats.
But smoking the meats. If he was actually as smart as everyone thinks he is, he should have understood right from the beginning to just hire a figurehead to be the face of your company. Like, if you're that socially unaware, just like, yeah, smoking on a Traeger.
It is the fact
It's
that
ribs.
a man with those social skills
Created the
runs
ultimate
these
social network.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just nuts to me.
Mind blowing. And also, speaking, we were talking about being able to spot a kook. That dude's a kook. That dude is hardcore, the kook of the day.
Yeah, for sure.
When he was surfing or whatever, and he just had white zinc oxide over his entire face. Oh, it's so good. We need some cool billionaires. We need more Elon Musks.
I
And
saw
like
something
Richard
that was like,
Branson's.
we have a lot of billionaires and not one of them has decided to be Batman.
Yeah, true. What the fuck, you guys?
Yeah. Why are none of you Batman?
Or,
we don't have a crime-fighting vigilante, last I checked.
I don't know. There are some people. There's like an ex-UFC fighter or something in like Portland or Seattle that calls himself a superhero, but he really just walks around and just punches people in the face every once in a while wearing tights.
All right. Well,
so I guess that's a step in the right direction.
We're still working on that then.
Also, yeah, where's our Tony Stark? Where's our Iron Man?
Yeah. For real. Although I would not want Bezos or Zuckerberg to be Iron Man. I would not want to rely on them.
No. Branson would be cool.
He's like the most chill of the billionaires.
Yeah, exactly. If he was just like a crime-fighting hippie superhero. Like, whoa, stop, evildoers. Chill out. Or I guess he's British, though.
He's British, though, isn't he?
Yeah, but he just looks like a stoner surfer.
Stop it.
Oi!
I bet he was back then.
But, I mean, so this is okay, here's the conundrum. If we have a Batman, does that not then entail or like necessitate the creation of a Joker?
I don't know that it necessitates it.
I don't know. I mean, somebody's going to have to. What's Batman going to really do? Unless it's the Joker. They're the playthings. You can't. It's the yin and the yang. You can't have the one without the other.
I mean, I suppose one would be created. I mean, Jeffrey Bezos looks exactly like Lex Luthor.
Oh, did you see all the memes of Jeff Bezos as Dr. Evil when he launched into space?
No.
Oh,
I think I was on my social media break during that time.
It was
amazing.
I
must have missed once.
They photoshopped his face into Dr. Evil's volcano, where Dr. Evil's face is, and then had the rocket coming out of there. There's a couple that were really good. That's one thing that I try to limit my social media, but every once in a while, just when it finds you, it finds you.
Some memes are just.
The internet is undefeated in all categories, good and bad. Like, again, it's the yin and the yang. If you want those good memes, you're going to have to take Jeffrey Bezos. Literally, while his coworkers have to pee, or his employees have to pee in bottles to get somebody's shampoo the next day. And he's like, I'm going to put a cowboy hat on and go to space. Jesus, dude.
Jeff Bezos could provide housing and feed like everyone in the world. And he chose to build his own rocket ship. It's just like.
Oh, I can't remember what the statistic is. I think it's like. Maybe it's $2 billion a year or something fairly low. Maybe it's $20 billion a year would completely end homelessness across America.
There are more houses in America than there are like family units.
Yeah.
We could easily give every unhoused person a home.
Well,
but
part of the problem is
not capitalism.
No, yeah, exactly. Like where's the benefit? Where am I getting my cut on this thing?
Me.
Also, part of the problem is the drug laws, and like homeless shelters don't allow you to use whatsoever, and so we're taking people that are essentially sick and need medication and need treatment, and we're not allowing them to be able to get treatment for it, and because we won't let them in into the shelter facilities and use their drugs there, then they have to be on the streets. And they're like, oh, well, I'm not going to give up my drugs. And we don't have a system in place where they can actually find somewhere to actually go get proper help. Instead, they get thrown in jail for doing something that usually just hurts nobody.
Yeah, thank you, Nancy Reagan.
Dude, yeah. Well, and also, and Nixon, starting the drug war in the 70s. Also, who was the guy? Some famous rich billionaire in like the 20s. I guess he was probably a millionaire back then. I don't know if there were any billionaires in the 20s.
Yeah, I don't know. I think so.
But like he started creating the stigma around cannabis, and it's not even called marijuana. Marijuana, I think, is Spanish for a certain type of tobacco. But but
they started using the word marijuana specifically because they wanted to attribute it to people of color.
Exactly. So they wanted to. That's how they got the whole country on board with illegalizing it, because there was like this racist thing, and then like, the jazz cigarettes and all those funky black people down at the nightclub smoking those jazz cigarettes.
How dare those black people be so happy? That's not allowed.
But really, what it was, I think it was maybe William Randolph Hearst. I would have to double check that, but he owned like paper mills, and hemp paper was so much cheaper to produce, or it was more he owned paper mills, and he didn't want hemp paper taking over his paper mills. So he's the one who like really, spearheaded the project to get it illegalized. So again, capitalism, he could make more money off of his plants.
I hate capitalism so much.
The old Ford, like the original like Ford like fenders were all made out of hemp, and there's videos of people taking sledgehammers to them, and it just bounces off, doesn't dent, doesn't get dinged, and it's just this is why this podcast has had a very dark overtone across the whole thing, I guess, but whatever.
I mean, we weren't coming into it like planning to talk about
daisies and roses and yeah, for sure. Also, this is why I like heavy metal, dark shit. This is why I have the Witch King tattooed on me as opposed to Galadriel.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings. It's like, no, I want the dark character. That's interesting. Yeah. Get your happiness out of here. Don't bore me with your happiness. Yeah, shoo. Get. What are you, happy? Get out of here. This is called the no fun zone. What are you talking about, dude? Get out of here with your happiness and joy and cheery demeanor.
Yeah, I did what was exactly expected of me in coming on the No Fun Zone podcast. I talked about nothing fun.
Yeah, that's yep. Welcome to, I think, what did I put as
Perfectionist Frigid, taking the task to heart.
See? Yeah. I don't think we talked about one single fun subject. This is good. This is real good.
What I'm here for. I'm here to dampen the mood.
I think I made a like bio on Spotify is making light of heavy issues or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's basically.
I like that. That's a good catchphrase.
It's something like that. It's along those lines, but I think I may have just rewritten it and made it a little bit better.
I mean, you might want to write it down now.
Well, I do have this thing called a recording going on right now.
True. You could reference this.
Notice how there's like a video camera in here, and I have a microphone.
I don't see the video camera.
That's true. Oh man, it's Inception. All right, I'll hold up the other one.
It just looks like you're on a very serious Zoom call right now.
I take my Zooms very seriously.
Yes.
Very seriously. Professional Zoomer.
There you go.
That's my new, I'm going to make business cards. Professional Zoomer. Well, cool. I think we've been going for more than enough time. It's now 8:37 here. Yeah, we've been talking for a hot minute.
I had to turn a new light source on.
Yeah. We literally lost the sun.
I hope you have enough content.
Yeah, I don't know. We could probably go until like maybe midnight or something.
Please enjoy the editing process.
Yeah, no, exactly. This is gonna be fun. I'm gonna probably split this up into multiple episodes,
Probably smart.
which is good. Because I think, yeah, I'll have to split it up and find some places where I can. Luckily, the camera kind of times it for me and just cuts out periodically. It's like, all right, that's a good break, I guess.
It's like, yeah, you're done now.
Yeah, we'll try again. So we'll try again in a minute. Cool. Yeah. Well, hey, thank you. This was good. This was fun.
Yeah.
It's always weird starting these things, and it's always weird ending these things.
Well, yeah. Do you?
Any final
Because
thoughts?
some podcasts just like kind of end at the end of the conversation and then play the outro music.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely going to be a component of that. But also, I kind of want. There's a lot of podcasts that have like a good sign out way of just like, I don't know. This is all a work in progress. So I'm gonna have to figure these things out as we go.
That's fine.
This is again back to the perfectionist thing. Is like, I know what I'm putting out right now is not the best quality that's possible, but it's gonna grow and it's gonna get better. And there's gonna be some people that are gonna get to enjoy the ride and watch everything improve.
Ride that wave.
Dude, ride the fucking wave. That's the perfect way to end it. We're riding the goddamn wave. That's probably what this episode series is going to be called. Ride the fucking wave, dude.
Yeah.
If you don't want to ride the wave, get on the beach. That's a very morbid way of almost saying to go kill yourself based on the metaphor that we had going. But I'm not saying that. Nobody go kill themselves. Bad thing
Please
to do.
don't.
Yeah, please don't.
It gets better.
Yep. So just keep riding that wave. And if your wave sucks right now, you'll probably find another one that's maybe a little bit cooler. And then you can get a sweet left. Maybe
some of the best waves of the day are the last set before the sun sets.
And also that's when your tan is just really get a wicked rad tan by that last wave. So keep bronzing out there, everybody. That's it. Thank you again, Bridget.
Yeah.
Okay, that is it, you guys. Thank you once again for Bridget, my sister, for sitting down and having this conversation with me. Thank you guys for listening, watching, whatever. Hopefully it was helpful. Hopefully it was sort of a lot of people don't know what it's like to go through sort of a traumatic experience like that. So, do all the podcast stuff. Like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram. No Fun Zone Pod, pretty much everywhere you can find us. And other than that, you guys are awesome. Thank you for listening if you made it this far. And if not, maybe we'll see you next time. All right, cheers.